step back, parry kick, and then right into the throat, just like this. I also want you guys to practice, he comes in with a left punch coming into the throat. Go ahead. And I parry off, I kick, and then I come in this way. Next thing I want you guys to practice is he's going to come in with a left jab, and then he's going to step in with a right punch. So left jab, see I still parry, kick, check, come in with the punch. So it doesn't matter, let's do that one again. So he comes in, go ahead. I'm going to do that same double shot. Now as I parry this off, I want you guys to block, and you're striking into this part of the nerve of that bicep at the same time. Just like that. Then he throws the kick right there, and then he comes right in the bicep there. And then we come into the shuto with your shoot to the neck. So the technique is going to be 1, 2, 3, and backside. See how I went here, 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 right? On Kokoro Kempo, which Kempo itself, you guys know, comes from China, Xuanfa, and it's what makes it more unique compared to some of the other arts is it's strong side forward. Instead of your right side back, like this, you're seeing that a lot of the techniques, we slide the left foot back, and we're fighting with our right foot forward. So we're fighting strong side forward, where everything else is strong side back. So it kind of gives you a different way of training, or a different option, right? You don't always want to just have one way, you want to have multiple ways of doing that. We're going to look at now is Gyoko Ryu. Now, if you guys go by the historical Kuden, right? Gyoko Ryu would be one of the oldest schools that we have out of the 7. Okay, now when we start training Gyoko Ryu, you guys learn the Gyoko Ryu Kamai and Kion Happo and Sanshin and all that kind of stuff. But once you start getting to the scrolls of black belt, the first scroll that you guys are going to learn, it's called the Jo Ryaku no Maki. Right? The Jo Ryaku no Maki, and that means the upper level scroll. You always start in Gyoko Ryu, you always start with the highest level scroll first and then go backwards in case someone loses the scroll or someone doesn't remember the technique. You can always have the top scroll, that's the top technique, and you can always go backwards. But if you only learn the bottom end stuff, you never get to the vision of the Grand Master because you don't know what that vision is, right? So we're going to work. That's the moment where you have to, you've always heard me say this, you have to see the unseen. You have to seek to find the truth. Are you looking where you need to look? Are you seeing what you need to see? When you guys are doing stealth, you have to be relaxed, you have to be flexible. The oak will break under pressure, the willow will bend. You cannot be stiff, you cannot be rigid, you have to be flexible. All of the idea again is know your surroundings and utilize it to your advantage. So while you're walking, it's not just staying flexible and what stealth step are we practicing right now, because there are different walking methods for different reasons. It's also utilizing the elements and letting them work for you rather than against you. That's called the war of the flea, right? You put a dog versus a flea, there's no way the dog isn't more powerful than a flea. But the dog can't take out the flea because it's so small, and these small little units, these small little groupings, it just drives him crazy. Even though the dog is bigger, stronger, and way more powerful of an animal, it can't defeat the flea. And when you think of guerrilla warfare or ninja or anything like that, you think of that idea of war of the fleas. Those guys are going out, you guys are going to be faced with some of the stuff is green, some of the stuff is not green, some of it's dead, some of it's not dead. You want to make sure that you take advantage of what's there so you can walk silently without making any sound that isn't what you hear. And we're going to talk about sound threshold in a second. There's 7 areas, and you got to cover all 7 areas. I don't care whether you're looking at it from a traditional ninja perspective or a modern recon force unit. There's 7 things you got to do. You don't want to be seen, heard, or give away your position. And you know what I mean? Human bodies are human bodies. We all still look the same even though we're wearing different shit. have broke them up into teams, and we have team 1 going down. It's kind of a pathway, already a pre-made path, but the vegetation is so thick and it's kind of overlying into the path that it makes it very difficult just to walk the path. So they will have to move the vegetation and the plants and the foliage just to get down the path, and the path is also on a very steep embankment, which also makes it very difficult as well. Team 2 is on this side over here, and Team 2 is going straight out. Now they don't have a hill or anything like that, but they don't have a pre-made path either. They're just kind of going out into the foliage and seeing if they can maintain silence. The big keys right now for them is I want them to be very flexible, stay on the balls of their feet, continue to control their breathing, and not disrupt nature. Like, I don't want to hear the big snap, crackle, and pops, the sticks, laughing. Let's see what's other things that could happen. Obviously people, falling over and hurting themselves, but the reality is we want to make sure that they maintain silence and connection to the elements. I like to do it when it's like now, where it's like kind of twilight. It's not necessarily completely dark, but the sun's not out either. So it gives them a little bit of light to where they can see, but once you're in there, it's just basically dark. So the depth perception is also what throws people off when they're dealing with this time of night, because they think they're closer to something or they have more space than what they actually do. So that's the drill right now, and then when we get done with this, we'll be working on Zetsumi Jutsu. Okay, so now we're going to work on a stealth skill. Now once you break if I come up like this and I try to cut him, he's gonna grab me and throw me. He's a trained warrior. He's not gonna just sit there and let me gut him like a fish. So remember, 2 airways, here and here. I wanna make sure that when I break structure, I push his jaw, I sink the knife in. The word light, so for me, this week is very important, right? More important, has more reason than any other week of the year. This week is, from a spiritual perspective, this week I have a celebration called Litha, which means bringing of the light, coming of the light. It's one of my, you can say 8 Sabbats, right? But Litha is that, it's bringing of the light. It was, it's the summer solstice. And during the same week of bringing of the light, if you think of that, or the idea, we also have the Daikomyosai, which means Daikomyosai, the great light. That light that we all have, right, inside. What we're searching for, what we be inspired by. Inspiration is a light. Sometimes you guys see symbolically, you're watching a TV show or maybe a cartoon, and you see this little light bulb go off on top of their head, right? Knowledge has been used for many generations to symbolically mean light. And the idea, and which we talked about day 1, is to make sure that the way that these arts were in their original form maintains that authenticity, right? Because whoever wanted to die for these arts, that meant something, right? So we try to maintain that same purpose. That's what we're doing with the traditions. When you look at the word Ei, sometimes Ei Jutsu is, shortened to Ei. Ei means quick response. It doesn't translate to quick draw, although we're doing a quick draw. It means quick response. You're responding to a pragmatic attack very quickly, right? Or you are being hired to do an attack very quickly, to where you walk up on them and then you do the technique. The word Ei Jutsu, or practicing Ei, is very old. It's even mentioned in the Bansenshu Kai by Fujibayashi Yasutake, which the Bansenshu Kai is one of probably the most well-known of all ninja documents or ninja manuals left to the present day. And inside the Bansenshu Kai it says you should be highly trained in Ei, in swordsmanship skills. He never said... You guys are holding your sword, and we could get really technical in the way that it's called Teino Uchi, the way that you hold your sword. We can get technical, and there's all these technical skills and all this Koryu information, but the reality of it is this is a weapon of war. The katana was never made to get a date. It was made to kill people. We could get technical on the way to hold certain things, and I think technical skills are very important. You have to have good fundamentals. But you can't let the end result be affected because you're focusing too much on the fundamentals. I know lots of people. A lot of times people are like, what is Kuden? Why are you teaching these old stories, right? So the story really paints the picture as to what it is. So there's a mom in the kitchen, right? And she's cooking a ham for the holidays. The daughter walks up to the mom and she says, Mom, why do you cut the ham in half before you stick it in the oven? And she just looks at the little girl and she says, she smiles and she goes, well, you talk to Grandma. Go talk to Grandma, she'll tell you. So she goes to Grandma and she says, Grandma, why does Mom cut the ham in half before she puts it in the oven? And she says, he smiles and she goes, you're gonna have to go to Great Granny. And Great Granny will tell you. So she goes in the other room and she sees Great Granny and she says, Great Granny, why do you cut the ham in half? Why does Mom cut the ham in half before she puts it in the oven? And Great Granny tells her, she says, well, when we were really little, when I was your age, the ovens were so small we couldn't put a ham in them. So the only way my mom knew how to cook a ham was to cut it a certain way and get it in there. So that's the way I cooked it, and that's the way your grandma cooks it, and that's the way your mom cooks it, and it's probably how you're gonna cook it. But the whole time, everyone knew why they cooked it, but they still did the same thing. They still didn't change that process. And that's that idea of Kuden. You always want to get to that source. Why did you do it that way? And once you figure out why they do it a certain way, and it's almost like you want to keep that because it has meaning, right? It's that idea of like, well, my great-great-granny did it, you know, and this is how we do it. That's what we want to do with these traditions. You want to look at the kata and maintain that series of this sense of authenticity. And go, boom, and then jump. What we're going to do, everyone's seen the whole movies, the ninja movies where they catch the sword with their hands, right? Well, that's kind of the mystique. They wore these to do that. There's the reality of it, okay? So when you do it, it's very important that you catch the sword at a certain spot. So when I'm here, when he comes down, I want to make sure that I jam the very bottom of the sword. I don't want to get here because he gets more thrust and more power into the cut down here. That's going to cut through the damn thing. When I want to do this on a turn, and once I got this point, this hand is going to come across the top and pivot. And see, I've got this see how the claw catches it? I pivot like this. You know, once I've controlled it, I'm going to shut to the neck right here, hammer it into the face, and then pulling his sword back in this position. As he comes down, I want to jam at the bottom like this. Now as I'm jamming in this position, I'm then going to jump over the top for control. Capture the sword, strike with the shoot go, and then I'm back into this position. Notice I got the blade up, holding it like this, okay? So then in, what was it, November of 2005, when I got my Minkyo Kaiden in Tomo Rishin of Bujutsu, and I got scrolls in Soke Minkyo. It was like his way of like, okay, I'm done. There's nothing else I can tell you. There's nothing I can teach you anymore, you know? And now as a teacher, as a student, I was much different because I'm very aggressive, I'm very competitive, I hate fucking losing, I love sparring, I'll grapple for a day if you want, I don't give a damn. You give me an objective, I'm gonna carry it out. Pain don't fucking exist. It ain't done until I say it's done. And it ain't done until I win. I'm not gonna lose. The reason I'm not gonna lose is because I'm not gonna lose. That's it. How are you gonna win? I don't know, but I'm not gonna lose. I'll figure that shit along the way. Because that's just my mentality. I'm just so fucking competitive. But then we start having these lessons, and since they start telling me this, and since they do this, okay, and then you start teaching, you need to do your thing. So, no different. You know, was I taught Budo Ryu Ninjutsu? No. Created it in 2004 for you guys. It's everything I've learned. I'm giving you what I know. But I still gave Tomo Ryu. Am I giving you Tomo Ryu? Yeah, I'm giving that to you. So and then I go through this process where now I have to figure out how to get you guys to do what I was doing. And that sometimes isn't always the easiest thing because none of you guys do the way I would do it. But the only way I figured out how to overdo that obstacle, right, is the way that I figured out how to do it. So everyone sees World Martial Arts Hall of Fame and Soke this and Ninkyo Kaiden and all that's great, but remember, all those things, those awards that I have,
Those are as a student, as an apprentice. When people, you guys and all of you, and everyone watching, everyone tends to think when I give a certificate or when someone gives you a certificate, you've passed a level. You've never passed the level. The levels don't exist. What you've done is you have now been given something. What are you going to do with it? You know, one candle, you can light a lot of candles off one, right? They just keep giving them the light, giving them the information, which then goes back to the idea of Daikomyosai, right? Because really that's what we want. We want our kids to be able to survive and protect themselves. The one thing that a lot of people worry about, well, you know, do I have retirement? My kids can be taken care of financially. A lot of people worry about that. I do. I have kids. Why would I not worry about things like that? But more importantly, we want to make sure that our kids and the people that we love can take care of themselves too. You know? And passing that on is just as important. Yep.